Hey, what's up? Chris Sider here, founder of Ex-Boyfriend Recovery and Ex-Girlfriend Recovery, and today I'm putting together this video to teach you if you should tell your ex about your feelings for them at all. But before we start talking about our feelings, the first thing I'd like you to do if you're new to this and you are trying to figure out if you should get your ex back or not is actually stop by our website and take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz. I put the quiz together for new people who really don't know if they have a chance of getting their exes back or not. The worst thing you can do is actually put all this effort into getting your ex back when you have no chance of getting them back at all. And there are certainly situations like that. So I advise you to actually stop by our website and take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz. I put the quiz together to come up with the answers for you and run it through an algorithm so that you can get an idea of if you have a chance or not. So if you want to take that quiz, all you have to do is simply look in the description link below this video and click on that link. It'll take you right to the quiz and you can take it and then pop right back over here and watch the rest of this video. Let's get started. You know, I always find it really funny when people come up to me and ask, Chris, should I tell my ex that I have feelings for them? Yeah. How else are you gonna get them back? So I think the real big misconception people have here is that they're not wondering if they should tell their exes, they're wondering when they should tell their exes. So rather than debate the merits of if you should or if you shouldn't, again, you should tell your ex about your feelings. I'm gonna actually make this video all about when you should tell your ex about your feelings and a little bit of how to do that. I've often made the point that really when it comes to trying to get an ex back, it boils down to two simple factors, timing and positioning. And it just so happens today's video is all about timing. The big stereotype out there is that you should never tell your ex about what you're feeling for them. And I think that's a stereotype because so many people tell their exes how they feel about them when they're in the midst of those feelings, and it often blows up in their face. You see, when you're dealing with something as delicate as your feelings, timing becomes essential. The worst thing you can do is tell your ex that you have feelings for them 5 minutes after the breakup or 2 days after the breakup. You're not going to really sway their decision. And I think it's important to note that oftentimes when people are watching videos like this about if they should tell their ex about their feelings, they're wanting a positive reciprocation from their ex. They're wanting their ex to actually reciprocate their feelings. No one's gonna come to this video and sit there and say, yeah, I don't care if they don't like my feelings, I just want to tell them my feelings. No, people who want to tell their ex their feelings also want their ex to reciprocate those feelings. It would suck if you told your ex how you felt, that you love them more than anything in the world, that you'd do anything for them, and have them just go, okay. So here's what I'm gonna do for you. I'm gonna give you my 3 best tips about how you should tell your ex that you have feelings for them, but also work into those tips how to get a positive reciprocation when you do tell your ex that you have feelings for them. Tip number 1, use tide theory. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I wrote a book called The Texting Bible. This is a book that I designed to essentially be a dictionary of text messages that you could just whip out and have a text message to use on your ex whenever you felt you needed to have a text message. But in there, I also talked about brilliant strategies about how you should position your texts. And one of the most common strategies I talk about in that book is tide theory. Tide theory is all about making things look natural. The most common example that I use when I talk about tide theory is if you go to the beach in the morning, the tide is at a certain length, right? And then by the time that you leave the beach at night, the tide has moved. But you're there the entire day and it doesn't look like all of a sudden there's this huge contrast between, hey, the tide was really small this one point and now it's really big. It's a gradual process, moving slowly. You should use this idea or this perception when it comes to telling your ex how you feel about them. The worst thing you could do is bombard them all at once. Instead, you want to sprinkle your feelings almost like little breadcrumbs, and then progressively increase the intensity in which you sprinkle those breadcrumbs, and also increase the frequency or intensity of what those breadcrumbs actually are. Tip number 2. Put your ex in a romantic environment. The chances aren't very high that your ex is going to be receptive towards you saying, "I love you," while you're at McDonald's. That isn't exactly romantic, and they may be thinking you're talking about your hamburger. Here's my point. If you put your ex in a romantic environment, there are certain stereotypes that come into play. They're going to be forced to feel like they have to be more romantic for the moment. I often talk about how location plays a really essential role to making someone fall in love with you. Again, there's those certain preconceived notions about going out on dates and going to these romantic places. They're going to be a lot more receptive towards you opening up to them when they're in a lot more of a more romantic environment. Keep that in mind. Tip number 3, achieve the 30-70 split. One of my favorite movies of all time is the movie Hitch. If you don't know, the premise of the movie is pretty simple. You have a quote-unquote relationship guru who's trying to help a guy who cannot get a girlfriend to save his life actually get a girlfriend. And he talks about a strategy in there, especially when it comes to kissing, about you go 90% of the way in and you let her come the extra 10%. Well, good old Hitch may have been onto something. In fact, when it comes to sharing your feelings, I often find that the worst thing you can do is overshare, especially if you don't know your ex reciprocates the way that you feel. So what I recommend to my clients is that you shouldn't go all of the way in when you first start explaining your feelings to your ex. Instead, you should go about 30% of the way. The worst thing you could do is say, "I miss you so much. I've been thinking about you so much. I miss you." And have your ex be like, "Cool." Instead, what you should do is go about 30% of the way. Be very specific about what you miss. "I miss the way you used to wear your clothes." Right? You're not saying something as powerful as "I've been thinking about you obsessively," or "I miss you so much," or even "I love you." You can even do this with an "I love you" type of a text message, right? Instead of saying "I love you," say "I love the way you walk," right? You're going about 30% of the way. You let them fill up the rest of the pie. Let them reciprocate with that extra 70%. Let them piggyback off of what you said so that you're not overstepping your boundaries, but you're doing enough to elicit the reaction that you can really use to test and see how they feel. Hey, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I felt like this was a long one. I'm trying to make an effort to make these videos shorter, but guess what? I always end up ranting or talking for about an extra 20 minutes. So again, here's more of my rant. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Chris Sider channel. You can find that using, basically just look for that red subscribe button somewhere around this video. The other thing I want you to do is make sure you actually stop by our website, check out some of our products, check out our free articles, and also check out our free quiz. I talked about that at the beginning of the video. I cannot recommend it enough if you're a newbie. Hey, I'll see you tomorrow.